Welcome, friends and fellow horse fiends. You've landed on Come Ride With Me, a podcast dedicated to helping you find harmony, joy, and success in your riding. I'm your host, Anna Fox of Equus Enlightened. This pod isn't about training your horse, but about training you to be the best partner for your horse. Listen to find out how I use my intention to direct my ride. You'll hear how I decide what to focus on, what to say yes to, and when to redirect my horse. You'll see how not getting frustrated or overwhelmed is the easiest path to sanity and harmony. So, what are you waiting for? Come ride with me. Hey guys, Anna Fox with Equus Enlightened here. Welcome to another edition of Come Ride With Me, except that we're not riding today. It's been snowy in Virginia, and so I thought that I would show you how we can still have fun and learn with our horses when the weather is not so cooperative. I don't really like being cold, so if you go and watch the video of this, you will definitely see me in my coveralls, but that is I can stay warm and I can still play with horses. Even if I don't ride, maybe I could ride. There's a few things that I could do, definitely, on the horses that I have if I wanted to climb on, but I don't necessarily need to do that. And I don't feel the pressure to do that anymore. I used to always think that, winter was such a loss of time, and I wasn't getting the things done that I wanted. And then when I started learning about, playing and experimenting, and that horses really don't need to be trained as much as we think they do, or we are taught that they do. I used to give myself permission to play in the winter. I was like, okay, it's not going to be that great anyway, so I'm going to give myself permission to play. And then, probably, stroke of luck, universe intervening, I actually had one of my horses get injured right at the end of the competition season. This is probably, 10 years ago now. And what I had to do was I had to give him some time off. And then then it was rehab time. And I really wanted him to be ready to go for the spring show season. So I actually worked with my vet, and she was giving me these very specific time limits on walking, trotting, cantering, going in circles, do whatever. And we were and I also played with different things, because I remember that winter, the last week or so here in Virginia has reminded me of that winter, actually, because I was working full-time nights, and I would go out to the barn after I got off work at 7 o'clock in the morning in my coveralls, and I would do the stuff with Gus, and when I could ride him, I would hop on him bareback in a halter. He is a unicorn horse, but I also did a lot of work with him to make him that way, and we have a lot of trust and a great relationship. And so and I would ride him up and down the driveway. The barn had like a circular driveway, and I'd ride around there, and I would just play with all these different things. And as we came into spring, he was actually very fit. He was actually more willing to go and do. And I really learned a lot from that winter. And so I've continued it on. Ebo is a very playful dude. And he can be a little bit nervous, but this is home, so he's not really nervous here. He's just going to be playful. So I thought I would just play with a few things, whatever tools you want to use too. I mean, I'm not a big stickler on tools. This is a Pirelli halter and rope. I do like their rope halters, but there are many other brands. And this is a carrot stick, and I only picked this one out because it was the first one that I grabbed. I have a couple other sticks that I will use too. So it just depends on the horse, and then also maybe the activities that I'm going to do. Since he can be a little reactive, I really don't want anything that's too long or that's going to make too whippy or do anything that might startle him, just because he is a bit more reactive. So
One of the things that I really just like to start with, I mean, these are things that you can do in the stall or in the barn aisle, right? You're just gonna cough, huh? Is play with yielding to pressure, right? And first thing I do, start with the halter, right? Can they go back easily off the pressure? And I use these knots as sort of landmarks. So the back knot, can he go back easily off that? Good boy. And this horse has pretty much had the winter to date off, so he's definitely not tuned up.
And then I play with the side knots. Can they go back easily off the side knot? Can I also push their nose and they'll step a little bit in the opposite direction off the pressure of the side knot? Or could I pull them towards me off the side knot? There's all kinds of things that you can check and play with that seem like they are very little and maybe insignificant things, but they can make a big difference when you're riding and later on down the road when you least expect it.
And you'll notice he does this thing with his mouth. He's kind of always done this. And so one of the things we work on with him is jaw releases, where you just kind of put your finger in like the bit, like you were putting a bit in a horse's mouth, and allowing him to figure out that he can relax his jaw a little bit. And what I'd like for him to do is be able to just move his tongue and his jaw like he was eating, really rhythmically in the mouth. Right now, he's sort of leaning, tilting off to the left and grinding a little bit in the back. It's like, that's kind of a nervous habit for him. Buddy. This is a fantastic exercise, and sometimes it takes them a long time to get very well adjusted to it. I think little body work tricks are also great like this in the winter. You don't have to be, a certified whatever. You can learn enough to sort of help your horse. And the moving around is normal, right? And even the coughing again, because he's trying to release and he's trying to figure out what's happening. I was actually going to bring Gus out here, but he was following me around and Gus was still playing with his food. So I thought, if Eva wants to come play, I'll bring him out.
The key here is to just be patient and notice what your horse is doing, because the tendencies that they're doing while you're doing this are probably things that they do while you're riding with the bit, and this can give you so much information about your horse and how they accept or don't accept the bit.
We're not doing anything hard. Good. Yeah, good boy. There you go. Good job. And, if you have a horse that's a little bit antsy, they're not great doing stuff standing still. We're going to do things for that too. So another yield to pressure. Can they just move their shoulders away from you? Light pressure. Good boy. Can they move their hindquarters? And I like to make sure they can move their hindquarters just by me looking at their hindquarters, because if you get into a tricky situation and you need the butt to go away from you, it's a cool tool to have. It's also a cool tool to have to actually get them to turn and face you and draw towards you. So if you have a loose horse scenario or something like that, there's so many uses for that yield. Good boy. Yeah. Good job. And let's see how he feels about the jaw release. Now on this side, he's not as resistant.
If you want more information on the jaw releases, you can certainly find more information out there on YouTube. And that you can shoot me a message and I can give you some more information. It's a great technique. You can do it anytime, anywhere. Just be careful about your fingers and know your boundaries. And then I'm going to check again. Can he move his shoulder? Can he move his hind quarter? You can do the belly. All different places. Can they move off the lightest touch? And then we have to meet the dog because she wants to be in the video portion.
And this is Belle. Yes, she's been with me a long time. Yeah, good girl, good girl. She knows I have horse traits, which she would like. Another great thing to do, like when you're playing this time of year, this is a great time to play with different training techniques. Pirelli games or positive reinforcement. Just different things to break it up. Add some tools to your toolbox. Your toolbox of training techniques can never, ever be too big. And also sort of the non-training techniques of just hanging out, spending time with your horse, learning from your horse, watching them, noticing what they do and how they react to certain things. That is one of the greatest benefits, I think, of groundwork in any form. You know, you'll hear people say, well, it's great because, you can teach your horse all these things on the ground. You can calm their minds. You can get them relaxed. You can warm them up before you ride them. All those things are true. But the biggest benefit that I have seen from really getting into groundwork is what I noticed, what I started to learn and notice just by watching the horses, even in the most benign sort of times. So you can learn so much just by watching them and how they behave and how they react to things. And like with him, with his hind quarter yield was a little bit not as tuned up as I'd like it to be. So this is where I could take my tool, and he's like, oh, I know what that means, and go, oh, yeah. There we go. There we go. Good. Now can you go the other way? Oh, perfect. That was perfect. Good boy. Yeah. Good job. Good job. Another fun thing to play with, especially if you have snow everywhere, like I'm just starting to thaw out, but if you have snow everywhere and you want something to do that's just walking your horse around in the snow, playing the touch it game, right? So you just allow your horse to put their nose on things. And in the beginning, you can start by just doing that, walking around and seeing what do they want to touch, right? And then you can put some treats out. This is what I do. I've put treats out on a couple different things, and I'm going to ask him if he can go and touch them. And I'm going to use my number one aid, which is my intention, to help guide him. And this exercise, I think, is so helpful for people who like to get really focused on their horse and they look down when they're riding. They're not looking up. When your instructor's telling you to look up, it's not just so you see where you're going. That's part of it. But there's so much more to it. For one, where you want to go and taking your eyes and your body there allows your horse to know what your intention is. It also allows you to think it, allows you to open up your mind to that possibility. If you're looking down and you're worried about what your horse is doing all the time, you're not worried about that. The other thing is horses have such, oh my goodness, great vision compared to ours. And so they see things at a greater distance, especially things that are moving, right? So if they don't feel like you are aware of what's happening out there on the horizon, they feel like they need to be aware. And a lot of times I see people who have spooky horses simply because they're so focused on the movement and what the horse is doing, and they're not focusing on what's happening out and around and where they want to go. All right, so we're gonna go and just see if we can't touch a few things, eat a few things. There's treats, you can chew on those. This is another, he's a mouthy horse too, right? And he used to be pretty annoying when he first came to me. But one of the things that I do is I just play with his muzzle quite a bit. And even as now he lets me play with his tongue. He didn't used to do that before. But, and that actually, he likes that. I think horses that are sometimes mouthy and nuzzly, like, they just want you to engage with them. They just want you to notice them and hear them and see them. So we play, and he doesn't bite, you know, even though sometimes you think he might, but he doesn't. Okay. But I'm always very aware, and I'm always active with my hands when I'm near his muzzle. I don't sort of just, you know, hang out there and let him bite me. I'm actually actively doing something, and I'm aware. So I am protecting my fingers and my arms. Oh, I think Belle may have found one of your treats. No good. Okay, well, we've got some more. Come on, let's go. This is also a great exercise for things that might be scary, right? And there's usually scary stuff, at least at one end of my arena, with having small children. So these guys are pretty used to it, but no, good boy. Good boy. Yeah, super good. Super good boy. Yeah. Come on. What about that? And you notice I used my finger too, right? And then I also, when he thought he might just walk past that overturned water trough, I was like, maybe we should slow down here and see what we can find. Belle, did you steal some treats? She may have. Let's see. Let's see what our cones look like. Can you touch it? Touch it. Good boy. And those would be a little bit harder because I don't really have a place to put the treat on top. But since the dog ate them off the bottom, she was snooping around for a reason. Yes. What about this one? What about that one? What about that? Can you touch that one? Can you touch that one? Ah, good boy. And I really like to do this exercise like I'm doing it now, right? I want to get them used to what I'm doing. And then I like to do it from a distance. I like to let my rope out and go, come on. Can we touch something? Come on. Come on. Come on. Good boy. We're going here. We're going here. Can you touch it? Can you touch it? Can you touch that? Can you touch it? Oh, good boy. And if you have a horse that is low energy, this is a great exercise to teach them in hand. You can get yourself like a barrels or something that's, I like, you know, easier. They don't have to reach down to get, you know, get maybe 4 of them for your arena and put your treats up here and teach them this online and even at Liberty. And then you can do it when you're mounted. And that can make a big difference into how they feel about going. I used to do this with Gus. Gus was very, he's an energy conservationist is what he is. So if you've got a safe space that you can teach them, you know, at Liberty, then go for it. But just do it online first. Get it so that you can be a pretty good distance away from them. And then you can try it at Liberty. I like all the yielding stuff, right? Like this is another extension of yielding the shoulder. Anything you can play with. I should have brought something, a feed pan, or if you're familiar with Surefoot pads, they're fantastic. Didn't bring anything like that out with me. That was a fail. But put those down. Teach your horse to step on stuff. Right? It could be a block of wood, something safe. But feed the pig pans, they work great. This way, one, if you ever need your horse to step on something, like a block for an x-ray, comes in very, very handy. Two, it teaches them more awareness about where their feet are. And if you're specific about which foot you want to go in, they will learn that. It makes it even easier when you want to do things like teach them to lift up certain feet. Now, Ebo doesn't have as much experience with this. Gus is a master at the Spanish walk. Good boy. Ebo, not so much. So we're going to see if we give him
A little tap with our tool or a touch.
good boy. Yeah, so he knows basically that, he can yield to pressure and lift up his foot by the tapping.
We always want to start with the lightest pressure that we would like to use. So number one is always our intention, right? Hold your intention for them to lift their foot. Then you can touch, and then maybe you can lightly tap.
Yielding to pressure anywhere to super light pressure is probably one of the biggest gifts you can give yourself and your horse, right? So another thing that you can do if you have a horse that's like fidgety and doesn't want to stand still, they're high energy in this kind of weather, and you're like, oh gosh, I don't know if I want to ride them even sometimes when the ground is thawed out, because I don't feel like I can do all my pre-work, lunging or whatever it is that you do. So a great thing is teach them about a relaxation box. And I just use Cavalettis and some ground poles. And the idea is you're just standing here and relax. Now, Ebo doesn't have a problem with relaxation. But let's say if he stepped out of the box, I'd let him go, and then I'd be like, oh, but could you come back in the box? Could you come back in the box? Good boy. And because he's not real fidgety and he's super relaxed, I am going to give him a treat. I'm going to positively reinforce that for sure. If he was kind of, I don't know, I probably wouldn't use food right away. I would just try to use my energy, dial it down, and just kind of keep easily redirecting him back into the box. That can be helpful because it can also help you practice your yields. If they're a little bit more animated and you don't want to be close to them, and you have, a longer rope and a little bit longer stick, right? You can stay away. Don't come to me. Get in your box. Whoop, 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 whoop. Good boy. Yeah. And stay. Good. Perfect. While you have these poles, oh, you're going to show them? Okay. Another great thing. Just walking over poles 1 foot at a time. Can your horse pause as they go over the poles? Can they back up over the pole? Good boy. Whoop. Now can you stop? Good job. Now, can you go sideways over the pole? Yeah. Good. Good. This is tricky because you got to avoid that one, I know. I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can make that tough corner. That's okay. Back up. Good boy. All right, now come over here. Now remember, the X part's out of his vision right now. So he's just going by his feel. of where to be. Good boy. So smart. So smart. Yeah. Good job. And although, like, right now this horse seems very calm and very relaxed, and he's very careful about his feet, he did not start out this way. This would be a horse that would have been running all into that, bashing his knees and getting frantic about the whole thing. But these are things that we've worked with him on, and we've taught him that he can be quiet and that we have lots of tools to help him. Oh, you're going to have to take a big step because it's a bigger pole. Big step. Big step. Good job. Right? And that's good for them. Just that stretching of lifting more is good. Now, I have talked about moving massage before, done, and the reflex to relax, and I've done a short video of it on YouTube, and also a great thing to have in your toolbox if you've got a horse this time of year, or any time of year, but especially that's a little bit stiff and tight, right? And so I'm going to use that. I'm going to say, he tends to like to hold his neck, and you saw like with the jaw and sort of tilt his head over to this way. So he likes to hold his neck right. Oh, good boy. So, yeah. Oh, goodness. And another release there. So I get that, right? Thank you. And then, good boy. I'm going to allow him to walk forward. Come on. Come on. Come on. I was like, oh, this is going to be real work. It's not going to be real work, I promise. Come on. Come on. Send him out in a circle. Oh. Good boy. But you can go walking. Good. Good. And like, you know, the gravel dust isn't really frozen anymore, but over here where it's snowy it is. I'm not going to panic that he trots off. What I want to do is I want to concentrate on that spot on his neck. And he feels the energy. Good boy. You know, so he thinks that means go trotting. He doesn't need to go trotting. Oh. Go walking. Go walking. Good boy. Good. And he's just asking me questions. He's like, what are we doing here? Oh, let me. Yeah, that little spot in your neck. Can you relax it and go walking relaxed and not go trotting? Because the trotting, even though he's feeling that energy, right, that I'm trying to send to that spot in his neck, and he goes trotting as a way to not release it. There. And now you can see when he's walking, if you look really close, you have to zoom in, that then his neck muscle's actually looser. Good boy. Yeah, let's see how we go the other side. You're going to be, yeah, good boy. Now, what if we do go trotting? Good. Yeah. Oh, so good. Oh. So, like, I don't need to do a whole lot with him. I can let him trot a couple steps. Good boy. Right? Check on his relaxation. Check and see if I'm making progress with making that something that happens quickly. And then I did a little change of direction with him online. Another thing that you can do is use the cones to direct the shoulder and the hindquarter, right? So you can make yourself little patterns. Good boy, right? Yeah, good. And all of these things are teaching your horse to be more responsive, to be more responsible about their own bodies, to be aware of where they're putting their feet. And they're fun, you know? And you can even get into teaching more tricks like the Spanish walk. Karen Rolfe has some great videos in her video classroom on what she calls silly horse tricks. And so, if you love this podcast, you can also sign up on Patreon and get access to that video classroom plus all of my Patreon content and the podcast videos. It's $25 a month, and that is cheaper than just signing up for the classroom on its own. And I hope this video gives you some ideas on things you can do when the winter weather has taken effect, or just when it's not that nice. You know, some of you live in places where it gets really, really hot in the summer, and it's not fun to be out working. So this would go both ways, and that we also don't need to always be working so hard and training so hard. You can make progress, you can be creative, you can experiment. Things can look messy. You don't have to groom your horse, you don't have to groom yourself, and you can still meet your goals, have fun, and enjoy the ride. Talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Come Ride With Me. My goal is to demonstrate to riders that we don't have to do something every second of a ride. We don't have to do things a certain way or at a certain time. Just staying present with your horse and gathering non-judgmental information about how they are going is way more beneficial than overthinking and overworking. If you'd like to learn more about what I do at Equus Enlightened, you can find me at equisenlightened.net or on patreon.com/equisenlightened. You can also find me on social media as Equus Enlightened. I will put all the links in the show notes. And until next time, happy riding. Oh, before you go, please remember to rate, review, and share this pod so others can find it. I would love constructive criticism, but like my mom used to say, if you don't have anything really nice to say, there's no need to say it. Just ride on, my friends. Have a great week.